This is PIX on Politics Daily with Dan Manarino.
Hi there, I'm Henry Rosoff, and welcome to PIX on Politics Daily. It's been a big week in New York City politics, as usual. A lot happening on the campaign trail for mayor, but what we like to do on Fridays when we can is really to drill into some policy stuff. And today we're talking about helicopter regulation and, to a smaller extent, the city budget, which is fast approaching some action items there. And to help us parse through all of that, we're going to bring in Christopher Marte, council member from Lower Manhattan. How are you doing today, Councilman?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing very well. So just yesterday, a victory in the city council for a coalition of council members, including yourself, passing some helicopter regulations. First, just step me through what you did do, and there was some discussion about what you were not able to do but want others to do. Let's talk about all of that.
Yeah, so, it's been long overdue, but we passed Intro 26, which would ban non-essential flights from our New York City helipads that don't meet FAA stringent standards when it comes to noise. In 2023, we had 59,000 311 complaints regarding these helicopter noise in Lower Manhattan. And so it's been long overdue, but we were able to not only pass this legislation, but pass a resolution that calls on our federal elected officials to help us ban non-essential flights here in New York City.
And so regulating the noise, as I understand it, also helps with the safety concerns. Of course, we're on the heels of that horrible crash in the Hudson just 2 weeks ago that killed a local pilot and a family of 5 out of Spain. And as I understand it, it's because to meet the noise standards, you need a more modern, safe aircraft, right? It's all kind of interrelated.
Exactly. It's making sure that they have the latest technology and equipment and supervision over the equipment that they're currently using. We mourn and we're reflecting on the family that was lost and the pilot who was a former Navy SEAL. But we also have to take action at this time and make sure that we don't repeat history. We've been seeing these crashes or these incidents, almost every 2 to 3 years. And hopefully adding this new legislation with the accompanying resolutions, we will improve the standards, not just for helicopter use in our city, but also the noise complaint. Everyday people, whether you're a student at PIX School or working down on Wall Street or live in the financial district, which is the fastest growing neighborhood in New York City, you hear the noise constantly. And this really disturbs your mental state and your focus at school, at work, or just living your life. And so hopefully this is a huge win, not just for safety, but for quality of life here downtown.
And in passing this, we touched on this at the beginning, there's an implicit sort of admission that more needs to be done, but the city council's authority is limited here. So let's talk about what can be done locally, maybe at the state level, making in concert with officials in New Jersey, because many of these choppers will still come out of New Jersey and be far less regulated. So what's happening to communicate with people in Albany? What's happening to communicate with, peer legislative bodies across the river?
Yeah, but I think it all starts in New York City, right? The noise is happening here. The congestion in our airways are happening right here. And so I think many people are looking at the city council to see what they were going to do immediately after this incident that just happened a few weeks ago. And in the meantime, we've been talking to our colleagues on the New Jersey side of the Hudson. And it's been great to see the mayor of Jersey City and other cities in New Jersey say reform has to happen. We have to make sure that safety standards are improved, that noise is down, and we're looking to not just our Albany colleagues, but our DC colleagues. Jerry Nadler has been a leader in this fight for many years, and I think there's a lot of momentum now to, work with the FAA to make sure that we ban all non-essential flights. We think essential flights, whether it's with the NYPD, FDNY, news coverage, are super important, right? That's where our sky and our airspace should be used for, but not just to take a quick Instagram photo in a flight that will last only 5 minutes.
And you mentioned that the end goal would effectively be to terminate this industry, and you were careful, and the plan is not to terminate all aircraft over the city and essential helicopters, but this tourism piece. So we heard yesterday at a press conference you were at, Councilmember Brewer sort of stepped through the history quite elegantly. She said, Mr. Bloomberg wasn't going to do this because he was a pilot. Mr. de Blasio was focused on business to similar extent. Mayor Adams has indicated he's focused on business. So one, will Mayor Adams sign this? And two, is it realistic to expect tourism flights to ever end at any point?
Yeah, so we got indication that the mayor is going to sign this piece of legislation. He's not supportive of the resolutions that don't need his signature. But now we have a council that's ready to take action, right? And I think that was the missing piece for the past decade or 2 decades. There was divide within the city council whether to pass legislation to really push on helicopter reform. But now with our majority leader, Councilmember Amanda Farias, myself, Councilmember Keith Powers, and Gail Brewer, as you mentioned, we've been able to unify the council to really move forward with decisive action.
So let's talk about the budget then. Hard left turn here. Where are we? Just to catch people up on the procedures and the bureaucracy. Where are we at in the budget cycle? We're in kind of the hearing phase. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we just wrapped up the last few preliminary hearings. The executive budget is coming out on May 1st, and then it'll start the new process of the executive budget hearings, where we'll meet with all the agency heads. They'll come to City Council to testify. The public will also testify. But we're still waiting for the state budget. I think it's almost going on to 3 weeks late at this point. And so there are many gaps that need to be filled based on what Albany budget looks like. And so we're all waiting. I know many local activists and organizations are waiting for that final number and the details coming out of Albany so we can move forward as a city to understand what we need to fight for and what we need to fill in the gaps.
Of course, because you got to know how much money you have for education dollars, especially state dependent. There's been an ask about some spending to help plug the hole for caring for the many migrants over the last couple of years. So I totally appreciate that. But what are your initial priorities? What gets you? I mean, we always talk about fixing this and solving this and saving libraries. Let's throw that out for a minute. What are you excited about? What do you want funding for that will just make life better for New Yorkers?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of momentum around childcare. When you talk to every single family, every single parent, the two biggest complaints are rent and the cost of childcare. I even spoke to my brother and his wife recently, who my niece is going to start first grade next year. And the biggest concern they had was childcare. Childcare was going to cost them $5,000 a month. That's unacceptable. No one can live in New York City when you have to pay almost what you pay for rent for childcare. And so I think there's a lot of momentum to expand childcare, especially free childcare throughout the city. And so education and childcare are going to be two big ones, but also making sure that CUNY remains affordable, that we invest in the infrastructure to make sure that people have the opportunity to higher education. And so I think those are the two big things that the council is going to fight for. But we're also going to be responsive, right? Because there are major cuts coming out of this federal government, whether it's for our arts and culture, for our nonprofits who are serving every single New Yorker. And so we're going to be ready to make sure we push back and we draw the line to make sure that New York City is for everybody. And so, it's being proactive with childcare, with education, with CUNY, but also seeing what's happening with these executive orders that are coming out almost every single day, and making sure that we can protect everyone.
So you mentioned the executive orders and the pressure out of Washington, but you have Mayor Adams, who has said openly, I mean, he said this to me directly, he won't criticize President Trump, and he only will push back where necessary. Are you worried that the mayor's office is not prepared to sort of join you in hardening the budget against these executive orders? Is that a concern heading into this negotiation?
I think for the past 3 years, the city council have fought back on local budget cuts, and we have been able to be successful. When they wanted to cut $100 million from food pantries last year, we fought and won. When they're cutting funding for smaller class sizes, we fought and won. And so I think we can speak for everyday New Yorkers, for working class families in New York, and win because we've been able to deliver these past 3 years. And so I don't see any difference. We're focused on our side of City Hall and making sure that the budget is reflective of our values and what we want the city to look like.
There's been a couple of high-profile fights in recent years over early childhood funding. The mayor seemed to indicate with an announcement a couple of weeks ago that he was going to baseline that funding. Does that signal to you, okay, this won't be a battlefront this time around? Is that a correct interpretation of that announcement?
Yeah, that's correct. And, I think it's from a lot of the work from the advocates, organizers, but me and my colleagues just standing up every year and saying we need to baseline education for our schools, for our kids. And we've been able to successfully do that. And so, we're ready. There's always this dance that happens weeks leading up to the budget, but we can't take anything for granted. We're living in unprecedented times, and we don't know what's going to come out of DC. And so we're ready to fight, and we won't agree on a budget unless it serves every single New Yorker.
Councilman Christopher Marte talking about both helicopter safety and the budget. Thank you for your time today, sir.
Yeah, thank you, and happy birthday as well.
Thank you. Happy birthday to you, too. It's your birthday as we're recording this, mine a couple of days ago. Have a great day.
Yeah, take care. Have a good one.
So that'll do it for this edition of PIX on Politics Daily. You can catch us every weekday at this time, 1 o'clock on PIX 11 Plus. And of course, we've got the big show tonight, PIX on Politics with my colleague Dan Manarino, airing at 6:30 every Friday. We're talking helicopter safety there as well, along with the New Jersey mayor's race. I'll have an update on New Jersey governor's race, and I'll have an update on the New York City mayor's race during this evening's episode. It re-airs Sunday morning. But for now, I'm Henry Rosoff, wishing you a good day.